Hello, welcome to Bennetts BikeSocial. I am Michael Mann, and you get two for the price of one in this episode because I'm joined by Chad. So we're here in Sardinia. That's how all videos go, isn't it? Everyone says that. So we're here in Sardinia. And it's the 2023 Ducati Multistrada V4 Rally. Wow. So the Rally is the more extreme version, isn't it, than the Multistrada, which came out, the V4 Multistrada, which came out 2021.
Yeah, so this is the one that in theory you could take on the world.
Yeah, travel everywhere, do everything. It could well be the most versatile bike Ducati has ever made. So in this video, both Chad and I are going to be testing the bike on and off-road. Unfortunately, the route is not long enough to test the entire tank range.
No, but we'd have to be here for a few days.
Yeah, it really would. Go on, I tell you what, why don't you tell us what your top 5 highlights of the new bike are?
Top 5 for me so far, because we've not, when I ride it, it might be slightly different. But the tank range is now much longer because we've got a 30-litre tank. So it was 23 standard? 22 standard. Yeah. It was a little bit thirsty, so now we're up to 30 litres. So the big tank range. And also, it's 30 litres, but it's not actually physically that bigger because it's brushed aluminium, not plastic. Yeah. So they've actually, if you can imagine a football with a thick crust, now the crust is thinner, so the air inside the football is more. Long travel suspension, or longer travel. So we've got 200mm of travel front and rear, which is compared to 170 and 180 previously. We've got big, thick bash plate, so we can take it off-road. We've got the longer travel suspension. We've got the enduro modes, so it should be, in theory, better equipped off-road. Yeah. We've got the ability to put on the off-road Scorpion rubber as well.
Got new wheels, of course.
Yeah, new wheels, which are considerably lighter than the spoke wheels that they've had previously. And also, I just like the brushed aluminium finish. I think it's got that nice little SP2 almost.
It does look like that.
Yeah. So to me, it's got that high-level brushed finish to it. And then there's a few little things that I just go, oh, I like that, like the phone holder. Yeah. The little cubby almost behind the fuel cap, now I've got it up at the front. Yeah. And I love, because I'm a dwarf, the fact that we can press one button and the preload is taken off the rear shock. I can get on the bike, and due to my weight, the sag reduces the seat height and I can touch the floor. I can actually touch the floor on an adventure bike with a 30-litre fuel tank.
There's a massive amount of range in the seats as well, right? So
yeah.
You've got 20mm in each. Oh, I've already confused myself here. So there's a standard seat,
yep,
a high seat, yep, a low seat and an ultra low seat. All those are optional.
And pillions get options as well.
Yeah. Each of those 4 rider seats has got 2 heights in them. So you've got a massive range. And then you've got the preload easy lift, isn't it?
Yeah. You've got that. Well, you've got 2 things. You've got one is so when you come to a stop, you press a button, it takes the preload off the rear shock. So when you sit on the rear shock, there's no preload. It sags, you touch the floor. When you get to 90 kilometers, or when you decide by pressing a button, the preload comes back to the preset preload that you've got. Other models do it automatically. This does it on the button, so you decide when you do it, because obviously if you're a tall rider, you don't need to do it.
A bit more convenient.
Yeah.
Cool, right. Well, let's go and ride, and then we can come back to you. You can join us on board, on-road, off-road, and then we'll have
I'm looking forward to the off-road.
We'll have a chat about it later on. And if you're confused by any of that, because I certainly am, it'll all be written out on BikeSocial.co.uk as well. See you later. Buongiorno, welcome to the Ducati Multistrada V4 Rally launch here in Sardinia. So we are going to be travelling around about 112 miles. Fire up, touring mode, one of the 4 modes. They've all got preset elements within each of the riding modes. So you've got brake control, traction control, ABS, wheelie control, and so on and so on. And if you change it into any of the other modes by pressing mode, funnily enough here, and you've got enduro, urban and sport as your other options, and then you can then go in and change each of those. About 112 miles the route will take us today, which in a way it's split between road and off-road. There's approximately 37, I say approximately, that sounds very precise, doesn't it? There are 37 miles of off-road. It's not all in one go. Ducati's philosophy seems to be, well, it doesn't seem to be at all, they've told everybody, it's no secret, but any bike that has more than about 150 horsepower will be fitted with a V4 engine. So this is the Gran Turismo V4. It is 1160cc and 58, I believe, to be precise. It makes a claimed 168 horsepower, which in the imperial world of brake horsepower, that's about 166 and a bit. Let's good to use the engine braking when you're going downhill, doesn't it? Hover over the rear brake, hover over the front. Plenty of gap in between the Ducati test rider. Well, I'm glad he's showing me the way of following his wheel tracks. It's just Ducati's way of demonstrating that this bike really can do rally and it can do off-road, and even if you spend your money on it. Right, Mr. Chad, we've had quite a day of it on this beautiful and versatile motorcycle. How many miles do you reckon we've done on and off-road in total? I think the prediction was about 112, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've set the trip, so it's just shy of 190 kilometres we've done today. So I would say 60 or 70 of those off-road, 100 and a bit on-road, because obviously we're going backwards and forwards on photos, aren't we? Yeah. And etc.
It's quite a thing, isn't it? I mean, it's a lot different to the Enduro, to the 1260 Enduro, and it's a lot different to the Multistrada V4.
Yeah,
and the V4S. In terms of it's just taken that next step up with its versatility, with its rider aids, with its, I guess, rideability as well. I think is a bit more intuitive.
Yeah, it's just opened the window of what that bike can do for me. You know, the V4S is a great bike. You had one as a long-termer, and it's hugely versatile. You can ride it on track, you can ride it fast, you can go touring. You can, we've got more ground clearance. We've got specific enduro mode, and we've got 3 choices of tyres off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's right.
So depending on how off-road you want to go.
I mentioned it during some of the onboard commentary as well about how adaptive it is. Not only with rider aids, and you can set your suspension settings, and you can and you've got options with seats, and we've been through that already. But there's a lot of different rider aids and riding modes.
Yeah.
So and wherever you are, and it's all very, very easy to use. We're gone are the days where you had to adjust your suspension when you wanted to go and do a bit of off-road. Or
it's incredible that you can go from a really kind of rocky, gravelly, like we was doing like second gear, third gear stuff, and then you come out of the gravel and you go onto a smooth road, you press a button and the bike transforms, and then you're in touring mode and you're like, okay, this is nice, we're in touring mode, nice soft suspension, and then you see the road wind and follow the coast, and you press another button and you're in sport, and the suspension completely changes. It completely changes the way the bike handles. And what Ducati are really, really good at is they make the switchgear, to me, easy and intuitive. You're not like looking down for 5 seconds and thinking what you're doing, and looking down for 5 seconds. And it's all backlit and nicely done. It's not probably the most attractive switchgear, but it's a beautiful set of clocks. And that makes, everybody claims that they've got 3 bikes in one, or 5 bikes in one. But in order to do that, the switchgear and the versatility has to be there. And I think that's what's key with Ducati. You don't have to read the manual to get on it and work it out. And it looks really nice. The clocks are beautiful.
What about rideability then? So I was super impressed with how the suspension reacted to any kind of, whether it was the sort of the more touring part of the ride or the sportier part of the ride. It didn't seem to pitch. It didn't seem to dive. It seemed to be very. It handles whatever we threw at it with absolute ease and aplomb.
Yeah, in touring mode, it is on, for me, it's on the soft side when you start to ride aggressive. You can feel like when you go from a left to a right, when you've got a series of corners, you kind of lifting it over the suspension, and then when it sits in the corner and it gets to grip, you can feel it sitting. And when you brake deep into a corner, you've got that movement. But when you go into the sport setting, which is just one button, close the throttle, press a button, and it completely transforms it. Ground clearance, I've not had an issue. I've just touched my toe slider just once, just on the boot, but you've really got to make it have it. And there's occasions where you go into a corner and you can see there's an undulation or something, and you think that's going to upset the chassis, and it just rails it. And you can close the throttle mid-corner. If it starts to tighten, you can use the corner in ABS and close the apex. And again, when the corner opens up, you can gas it. I mean, we were leaving big black lines when we were riding hard, and it's...
There's a downside to all that, because it makes you feel, possibly overconfident. It makes you think like you're a better rider than you are, because the bike does so much for you.
Yeah. The bike does a lot for you.
You start to lose a little bit of feeling, that kind of one-to-one.
You see, what's interesting, I think, about this model is... I don't say
it's a negative thing.
No, but sometimes when you get on a bike with semi-active electronic suspension, you have that vagueness of the last bit, the last 10% or the last 20%. And also with a traction or with a wheelie control, you have that vagueness because the electronics kick in. But with this, it doesn't feel like you're on semi-active suspension. It feels when you're going into the corner, you can feel it. When you're off-road, you can play with the throttle position. You can let it allow to find grip. And the quick shift, even though it's super, super, super smooth and super fast, it feels like you're in control of the bike. It doesn't feel like electronics are taking control. It feels you're in control, but they're there in the background. And rather than hindering the fun, they're encouraging you or allowing you to do things you probably wouldn't. Like a few times off-road today, we was like braking quite heavy and I was relying on the off-road ABS. And I was like, oh bloody hell, that's it didn't save me, but I could feel it was working, and then that gave me like a safety net, you know, or I was like, oh right, well I know I can do that on the next time I'm braking. So then I went a little bit quicker and a little bit quicker, and then just felt more confident with the bike. If they had not told us the weight or told us that that was a 30-litre fuel tank, I don't think the majority of the people on this test would have guessed it.
It's exactly the same thing I was going to say just now. Like the way in which it carries those extra 8 litres. And there was a few people on the Multistrada Facebook group who were asking that question: does it feel top heavy? Does that and the long suspension make it any difference? And I said, not a chance, no. Not at all. Oh, maybe, you know, if you rode them back to back and they were both brimmed, maybe. But really
I jumped on the S when we stopped and just sat on it, and it didn't feel different. The only difference was you have the little glove box or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the phone carrier.
Phone carrier is behind the fuel cap on the S, and here it's up front on the left.
And it's slightly taller, isn't it? The fuel cap.
The fuel cap, yeah, but it's not
barely unnoticeable.
When you jump on some of the competition, when they go to the 30-litre fuel tank, it goes poof.
Yeah.
It's like it's pulled a ripcord and the airbag's gone off. It's like jaboom, you know what I mean? Where this doesn't feel like the big sister. It's a little bit more. It's not a massive jump where the others feel like, you know, the airbag's gone, you know, they've had a really good Christmas. you know, on 1st of January when you get on the scales and you go, holy Jesus. Yeah, where this isn't.
Any downsides?
For me, I thought a downside of this bike would be it's got longer travel suspension, it's got higher seat height, and it's got more ground clearance. I'm a dwarf, I'm not going to touch the floor. But they've resolved that by the button that reduces the preload, that means I can touch the floor.
For context, you're what, 5'7"?
5'7" on a warm day. It's 5'6" in a bit. 171 centimetres, I think.
Oh.
The only downside for me is, off the top of my head, I think we're looking at 23 and a bit, under 24,000 for the base.
Yeah, for the most basic spec.
Yeah, and with this one is just under 27,000.
So that's panniers, crash bars, and the auxiliary lighting.
Yeah. And you could go more. You could put the top box on it. It does look great. I love the brushed aluminium. It's the first time I think that I would prefer this look than a red, because I think if you buy a Ducati, it has to be red.
Yeah.
But this brushed aluminium look is beautiful. And
it's £500 extra, sir.
Is it £500 extra? But when you think about the price and you open the panniers, you go, oh, look at that strap there. That's solid. You know, that feels really quality. You know, all the bracketry is well done. All the clocks are easy to use and they look good. You know, everything is. The keyless ignition, everything is quality, so you can see when the money's gone. I
have to agree. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck, and there's a great deal of quality there. And Ducati themselves talk about the lifestyle, and they talk about it being a premium proposition, a premium product. And yet, in the same breath, they often talk about, the Multistrada is the biggest selling product of the year.
Yeah. The only thing we've not done is we've not done some big motorway miles.
Yep.
I'd like to sit on the motorway with a pillion. See what stability is like. Because stability, we don't know. These panniers are fixed, because they're better. Fixed panniers are better off road, and we've done a lot of off road. So if you're not going to go off road, you want the floating panniers. Yeah. And it'd be nice to see what that's like, because this is quite capable of getting to Germany and sitting at 100 mile an hour all day long.
Yeah.
And with a 30-litre tank and a longer range,
and with a radar controlled.
We've not had a chance to test that today.
That's a brilliant system on the V4. It takes a lot of that sort of fatigue out of long distance riding. Even around town, even on my commute to work, I use it all the time. Yeah,
superb. Yeah. So there's a few little things we need to address, and a few little things we need to test a little bit further.
Yeah.
But in terms of first impression,
Yeah, windscreen makes a big difference, I think, for me as well. In both low and high, I felt a little bit under my arms, but it was nothing to write home about. I even asked the young girl who came to ride pillion at lunchtime, and she said similar. She said, she didn't feel a thing. And I moved it deliberately while she was on the back.
Yeah.
So as a pillion, she couldn't even feel the difference between low and high.
For me, I've had it low for most of the day, but then I'm a shorter rider. And then also the little ducts that can deflect air onto you or air off you on the side that you can flick over on the little plastic.
Yeah.
And also the heat, there didn't seem like a lot of heat coming from the engine either.
No,
the back cylinder's cutting down.
A 20-degree day as well.
Yeah, like off-road, you normally feel it because you know you're using second and third gear, but the heat seems to be pretty good as well.
Economy-wise, we've got nothing to really reveal here, have we? Because we've done, it's a press ride, so that's not very representative.
It's not
we've
really
done off-road, that's not representative. Yeah, and we've not even used a full tank.
No, 7 litre to 100, I think I was getting.
Yeah, there were guys doing 6.2. I think I ended up coming back here at 7.5. So
yeah, I was 7 on the dot. But as you say, some of the off-road we were just sitting in second gear, backwards and forwards, a lot of town work. As I say, what we need to do is get it back home, sit it on the motorway, and also put it against the competition. Because you've got the BMW, I guess, and you're trying for the 2 major 30-litre
I'd say the same.
adventure bikes.
Yeah, I'd say probably the Tiger 1200 more so than the BM. I think that's a bit more advanced. I think it's but the Triumph and the Ducati seem to be almost, dare I say it, pulling away from the BMW.
In terms of performance, definitely. In terms of power. I mean, what's interesting about this is it's so easy to ride and so genteel, at slow speed. And then when you do open it up, you forget how much power it's got. And you go, whoa! And it does.
Doesn't it sound good?
It sounds good.
I think we've got to talk about that cylinder deactivation just for a second or two.
Yeah.
It's not. There's a few people who are asking already about it being retrofitted to the old Multistrada, which it can't. It won't because it's same engine with different components. Some sort of camshaft. But of course, it exists on the Diavel V4.
Exactly the same as the Diavel.
Yeah, and it's 3,800 RPM, I think, when it comes from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
So long as you're in second up to 6.
So it doesn't work in first gear because it'd be too snatchy. So it works in second to 6. Below 4,000 RPM is basically but if you request a lot of torque or you give it a big handful and you are below 4,000 at 2,000, it'll chime on. But what's interesting when you ride the Diavel that I rode last month, the Diavel, you can't feel it, but you can hear it. There's a definite pitch, which might be because the exhaust, you've got that quadrant exhaust right close to you. You can hear it. On this, you can't really hear it. I can't feel that it's going from 2 to 4.
I hunted for it. I was trying to.
Yeah.
But you cannot do it.
This is not like the old VTEC system with Hondas, which would be like rah, and it's not like an automatic car that, when you're in fourth and you floor it. It's not that. It's not that weirdness. There's no. And again, it's one of those things that if they didn't tell us, I don't think you'd know it either.
No, exactly that.
You've got the centre standard now.
Yeah, good.
So it's easy to lube, easy to maintain. Not a problem.
Bigger foot pegs. You've got the
we took the rubbers out of the foot pegs, put them in the.
I mean, they're bigger anyway than the.
Yeah, but the rubbers just can pop out. You don't need a bolt kit or anything. The brake lever you can flip up, so it's better in an enduro boot. It's more active.
Such a flick, pull the spring.
Yeah, pull the spring, turn it around, and it's there.
You can have the quick shifter in 2 different settings as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The quick shifter works like a race bike.
It's a very, very short shift.
Yeah, but it
takes a bit of effort, but it's very, very fast.
But the cut is like race bike cut.
It's interesting going out the pillion, and again I was being deliberately careful for the first couple of gear changes. I used the clutch just in case. But
yeah. No, you don't need to.
It was smooth as anything.
Yeah.
That was good as well. It was a good experience actually a good experiment having a pillion at lunchtime just to see what the weight was like.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind it's a big
Although
old bird.
I did frighten mine by going on the correct side of the road or the wrong side of the road.
It's like being at home, isn't it? You get slapped around the back of the helmet. Mega job. Right. Thank you, sir.
No worries.
It's been a pleasure riding with you and talking to you.
Let's do the group test. That's going to be the big one. Because I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know how cheaper the Triumph is or how cheaper the BMW is.
When you spec them all up together.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. And it's also going to be interesting because we know, because you had this bike, the engine isn't that frugal, even though we've got 30 litres of range, a 30 litre tank.
Yeah.
I imagine range on this, it will be considerably less than the Triumph and the BM.
Possibly so.
And they're going to be considerably cheaper, but I don't think they'll match that in terms of performance, handling and desirability. And I don't think they'll match it off-road either. But let's throw a group test together and find out where we're going to go.
Sardinia. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So if everybody on YouTube votes that we go to Sardinia, I'm here.
If anyone knows any sponsors who can bring us here.
Yes.
Good job. Thank you, sir. Thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. I hope you've made it this far. Any comments, questions, thoughts, insight or otherwise, leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to be a BikeSocial member if you're not already. See you next time.